Brandon Hall is an educator and a Marine. He believes in serving his community through personal accountability, relational trust, and moral purpose. Brandon is currently the principal of Deer Creek Middle School in Jefferson County, Colorado. Brandon is a lifelong learner who started his journey as an educator in 2002, teaching high school social studies. In 2010, Brandon graduated from the University of Colorado, Denver, with an MA in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, as well as his principal licensure. As a school administrator and principal, he has had the privilege of serving multiple school communities and learning in grades K through 12. As a Marine, Brandon entered basic training in 2001. After completion of his required training, he served in the Marine Corps Reserves as a logistician, Civil Affairs Non-Commissioned Officer, Section Chief, Civil Affairs Team Chief, First Sergeant, and Sergeant Major. Brandon retired in 2023 as a Battalion Sergeant Major for the 5th Battalion, 14th Marines. Brandon deployed twice in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and once in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. Brandon and Stephanie, his wife, have 2 adult children and a daughter in high school who couldn't break away because of basketball to come watch him speak today. He cherishes every moment he spends with his family. Brandon is an avid adventurer and enjoys skiing and in the winter, mountaineering whenever possible. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Brandon Hall to the stage.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely an honor. Can you just humor me quickly? And to the person to the left or right of you, can you just say, good job, congratulations, a fist bump, a high five, something parents, family members do too, because guess what, this is on you as well. So as a school administrator, as a principal, I try to do that in every single meeting. We start meetings with gratitude because gratitude changes how the brain operates in that moment. So for you aspiring school leaders, there's a tip for you. For you future military leaders, don't do that. It's a really bad idea to do that in a command meeting, so just hold on to that for something else. So good afternoon, graduates, faculty, family, and friends. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Patterson and Dr. Paddock O'Reilly for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here in the presence of our future leaders. I say that because Chadron State has graduated a long line of esteemed leaders like Governor Tim Walz and athletes like former San Diego Chargers running back Danny Woodhead. Note, I did not say the Patriots. And side note, I thought that'd be a cool fact until I realized we have a hallway dedicated to Danny Woodhead in this gym. So, not maybe a cool fact. And then maybe the most famous Chadron State alumni, Don Beebe, who I also thought would be an awesome fact, but you have a stadium named after him, so not a very cool fact because you already know it. But he played most notably for the Buffalo Bills. And if you don't know about Don Beebe, he had one of the most memorable plays in Super Bowl history. If you're unsure of what I'm referencing, I suggest you look it up. It's pretty cool. And I remember literally watching that game as a kid. It was awesome. Thank you to the graduates. It's an incredible honor to stand here today and celebrate your achievements. We share a bond, you and me. I too graduated from a small Division II school, Western Colorado University, and my time at Western taught me the value of a personalized education, and it made me feel seen and heard in a way that shaped who I am today. I graduated with my initial teaching license in social studies, secondary education. I've also heard the ROTC program is coming back with a huge win for Chadron State and the students. I enlisted in the Marine Corps during my senior year at Western in March of 2001, reported the basic training that August. And that decision led to a 22-year journey in the Marine Corps Reserve, and it was filled with pretty incredible experiences. I also know that there's been a long line of award-winning educators that have come from Chadron State, and multiple have landed in Colorado, with most staying in Nebraska, much to a loss for Colorado. I know that Chadron State has had many notable guest speakers, and so I'm humbled to be included in such an esteemed club. I'm not a comedian, actor, author. I'm not a billionaire or a former president or a former football player. I'm an educator and a Marine. So thank you for your grace and patience. So here we are, all of us. And regardless of your degree, this is your day. And we need to honor you and what you've worked so hard to attain. And so thank you. And thank you for staying in the fight. we need you in your wisdom now more than ever. So maybe we jump right into me talking about my incredible words of wisdom and motivational advice for you. We fail fast. We don't quit. We make our beds. Be sure to laugh. Be sure to play. Don't chase money, etc., etc. But I'm sure you've had your fill of advice and motivation for today. So instead, maybe we start with a quick story. So there I was. It was September 2001, and I was on the drill deck at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, with Platoon 3002, Mike Company. We were finishing phase 1 of basic training, which is where we learned the fundamentals of being a Marine. And we were preparing to move north to Camp Pendleton for phase 2, which is field craft and ranges. And that day we were practicing drills under the blazing San Diego sun as we were executing left, right, left, and left, right obliques, port and right shoulder arms. We were halted when the junior drill instructor came out and pulled the senior drill instructor aside. Our eyes were locked to the front. We were standing at attention, bodies stiff, eager to hear the next command. The senior drill instructor faced the platoon and abruptly marched us back to the barracks, singing the beautiful cadence of left, right, left. Moments later, we were in the barracks, seated on the quarterdeck as the senior drill instructor wheeled out a TV. What we saw was surreal. We saw planes crashing into buildings. We were hot, we were fatigued, we didn't fully understand the gravity of what we were witnessing. The senior drill instructor, Gunnery Sergeant Ortiz, he addressed and he said, "Recruits, look to your left and your right. One of you is not coming home. We are going to war." That day changed the trajectory of my life. It's a moment that I reflect on often, and one that I share with my children, and one that I will share with my grandchildren when they ask about 9/11 and what led me to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. For many, it's now a distant memory or just a paragraph in a history book. But for me, it was a defining moment and an event that shaped who I am today. Recently, I experienced another defining moment. I became a grandfather. My granddaughter, Freya, will call me Opa. Her arrival made me rethink what I wanted to share with you today. And this is where I interject the motivation and inspiration that you are anticipating so much. I originally planned to talk about endurance, the need to be ready to fight tonight, and the need to live your best life. It was an epic speech, and it dove deep into motivational quotes and multiple quotable mottos. We were going to get super hyped, and I'm sure you might have been standing on your seats. But Freya reminded me of something even more important: the legacy we leave behind and the stories that we tell our grandchildren. As an educator and a Marine, I've seen the power of storytelling to inspire and teach. Whether in a classroom as a history teacher or in a school circle with Marines, telling them about the time and actually I think we're gonna hold on to that story. Or around a campfire with my family, stories connect us. On a recent camping trip, I learned that the very spot we were camping had been my grandfather's favorite camping spot 100 years ago. He was born in 1911. In 1924, he was 13 years old, and he was in the same spot that I was standing in. And let that sink in for just a second. It's 100 years ago. He and his brother traversed the hills using pebbles in their mouths to combat thirst. Yes, that's a real thing, and it totally works. You could just clean off the rock first. They did have canteens, but they were just in case. And at night, they slept on hot rocks heated from a small campfire. Each carried an old Swiss Army knife and some candy bars. They would be out for days at a time just being kids. Hearing tales of their adventures filled me with pride and a sense of continuity. Those stories have now become a part of my story, and one that I will share with Freya. In fact, I thrive on stories. Maybe that's why I love the subject of history so much. To read about or listen to the experiences of others excites me. It helps me determine a path or trajectory. It makes me reflect on my life and my experiences. And yes, I've been there and done that. And now the key is, what am I extracting from having been there and done that? The lessons learned are what I absorb and what I will someday try to teach my grandchildren. Because intentional lessons really aren't very fun. Now, my own kids, they heard the stories. That period of time when I walked uphill in 3 feet of snow to and from school. All you parents out there, I know you told your kids the same stories. You've all heard them. How about that time period of when I was in college and so poor I was living on top ramen and canned tuna fish? How about the time I saw a city in rubble, or the time I understood the power of an Afghan jirga? What I relayed to you earlier about where I was and what I was doing on 9/11 is a fraction of the story. I could talk about how my heart was racing, I was scared, and I've never felt more determined, focused, and proud than in that moment. And unfortunately, we don't have time for me to pull you in with the full story. It's going to need to wait for when my grandkids have to write a school report on the ancient history of September 11th, 2001. I'll be sure to tell them about what it felt like as time stood still. And after 22 years as an educator and a Marine and all the other stuff, being a dad, a husband, a son, a brother, a friend, etc., I have some pretty amazing stories. And in fact, sometimes I remember a story or piece together memories and share an experience, and I myself am amazed. Now, so you know, when I tell stories, I reserve the right to embellish a little bit. So if we chat after this and I tell you a story, stand by. It's going to be a good one, I promise. Everything you see, you feel, you hear, and read about is a story. We know these stories. The story of Apple, Google, Amazon, wars, peace. At home, I have 3 bookcases full of books that contain stories. We hear them in podcasts. When there's an interview, news, it's a story. This event right now will be a story that I tell my family and friends over the holidays. So there I was on stage talking to our future leaders about stories. I'll probably talk about the lessons I learned, like the speech was too long or too short. I wish I would have had said this instead of this. And why didn't I tell them about the time I almost died? Something else to consider. Very little in my life has gone according to plan. Wouldn't it be great if we could pre-write our stories? See into the future and predict our every move? I don't think it would be. I think it'd be pretty terrible. That might be a very boring story. Let it be unpredictable. That's where the excitement and the lessons are. So graduates, what stories will you tell? It might feel far away, but one day you'll have your own version of So There I Was. Will you tell your grandchildren about overcoming challenges, finding your passion, or building lifelong friends? Will you share the time you fell in love, took a leap of faith, or achieved something extraordinary? See what I did there with lessons? Your stories help to define you. Your stories allow others to see and paint a picture of you, places, things, and events in their imaginations. Consider how powerful that is. In their mind, you might be saving the world in a land far away, or traversing mountains with nothing more than a Swiss Army knife and some candy bars. The events that shape you will first have meaning for you before they inspire others. And my hope for you is that you live a life filled with purpose, resilience, and curiosity, a life worth sharing, and then make sure you embellish just a little bit. So as you leave here today, remember, maybe you do have endurance. Maybe you are ready to fight tonight, and hopefully you live your best life, because those are the stories worth telling. So picture yourself years from now sharing ice cream with your grandkids when they ask, what was it like back in your day? What will you say? I'm guessing you're going to start with, so there I was. So thank you, graduates. Congratulations. And here's to the incredible stories you will create.